Super Sunday. Aston Villa 0, Tottenham 4. I don't think many people would have predicted this. You were there. You got your minstrels on your way home.
I was already at home. It was part of the Uber Eats order.
I feel like you need to tell people what that's about for anyone that's not seen your tweet.
Just look at my Twitter timeline. I ordered some food for me and the wife, and I ordered some minstrels as well, which, by the way, I didn't eat. It's still sitting in the cupboard. Great day, obviously. Let's talk about Villa first. I've always preferred to talk about the other team first because otherwise I'll just talk about my team too much. I think we can be hindsighty here and say Villa shouldn't have changed the system. I think there's positives, negatives to it, and as usual, you can spin your narratives. So I've spoken plenty of times about Tottenham struggling against back fives, making it becoming more difficult to create chances. I think you've seen that in the first half. What was our XG at half time? 0.02 or something?
Was it really? Oh.
So in terms of the back five, I mean, we had a lot of the ball. We had 70% of the ball in the first half.
Yeah.
So in terms of Villa limiting us to create chances, the back five worked. If you reflect on the game at White Hart Lane earlier in the season, which came quite quickly after the Chelsea game where we lost loads of people because of injuries and stuff, we battered them for the opening half hour. And it was ridiculous that we weren't a few goals in front. Then our players tired. Villa got a goal back. And then by the end of the game, Villa managed it really well in the second half. But I think the big thing for me was, and I've got the benefit of this, of the experience of being in the stadium. And I was in May last year at Villa Park as well, when it was kind of like a Conference League playoff, if you will. The atmosphere that day in May was exceptional. They were great. They were so up for it, Villa. Brilliant atmosphere. It's probably Villa Forest were probably the two best away atmospheres I experienced last season. That was pony yesterday in terms of the atmosphere. I remember it said 0-0 for a long time, right? It's 0-0 at half time. The atmosphere was shit. And I think the atmosphere was shit because of the way that Villa played.
Okay.
It was difficult for them to... I've spoken about this with Tottenham in the past, with back fives, and you cede possession. You're not giving the fans anything
There's
to...
no burst in any moment to get adrenaline going.
It was... I know what the tactic was. They knew that they could isolate 2v2, Bailey and Watkins against Romero and Van der Ven. Now, Bailey wasn't going to do Van der Ven, but there were a couple of little glimpses where Watkins, if he could isolate Romero, there was one time he did him, Van der Ven made it bad. There was another he got away from Romero, and then Romero got back to him. We're brave with the way we play, and we'll do that, right? So I know there was a definite strategy there, but that was the only thing that Villa had, was that as an outball. I think it must have been frustrating for their fans to watch that. Also, probably going into the game thinking they probably would have taken a draw because they were 5 points clear of us. So I think, for me, they lost the advantage of what they had in the game, which was home advantage and the crowd. The crowd. It should have felt like a cup quarter-final atmosphere, and it didn't. It just felt like, from an atmosphere perspective, just like a bog standard. And I think if Unai Emery could have his time back, I think he would play a back four. Because what I wondered on the way home last night, and I got why he did it, but I also reflect on it, why didn't he play a back five against Arsenal or City when they had them two brilliant results in December, wasn't it?
Yeah, December, I think it was.
I mean, against City, they just swarmed them.
Yeah.
You could feel the atmosphere coming through the TV that night.
Do you think there's an element of the time of day, though? Because like evening games versus Sunday, 1 o'clock. Like, I definitely feel it as a fan when it's an 8 o'clock game. I'm usually a bit more leery.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Sunday afternoon.
The earlier kickoff doesn't help the atmosphere perspective. Definitely. It doesn't. 1 o'clock is too early, really. But you also think it was a very big game. And I'm not criticising Villa fans here, by the way, because like I said, the atmosphere when I went there in May was great. But this was a bigger game than the game in May.
Yeah.
If Villa won yesterday, it was over.
I wouldn't say over, but yeah.
Near enough.
Yeah.
All right, put it this way, at least top 5.
Yeah.
No way finishing lower than... They would have killed the prospects of Manchester United and others finishing 4th if they'd won. Now...
It's still open.
It's open.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think from the FPL perspective, look, most are going to go Watkins this week. He's probably the boring captain pick because of the EO.
Yeah.
But I do think there'll be a surge for Sonny from captaincy. I think I'd probably avoid defensively. I think John McGinn's red card.
That was bad.
Coward.
Yeah. Intending to hurt there.
Suj says Tell a man what you're telling to his face. Cowards. And I love that it's a red card. I actually punched a guy in front of me in the back of my head when it happened, genuinely.
Did you apologise?
Yes, I did. I didn't punch him in the back of the head. It was one of them where it was...
It wasn't Anthony Joshua.
It did piss me off. Because one of your players has just been hacked. Yeah. It's not it's just hacked him. It's just kicked him.
It's the intent behind it.
And I lifted my arms and I clocked this geezer in the back of the head, and I did grab him and cuddle him and say sorry. He wasn't happy, but it was all right. I spoke about this with a Philip Billing one a few weeks ago when he got sent off. Those acts that are deliberate and dangerous should be red cards.
Yep.
For me, it is a definite attempt to commit a foul. There's no attempt to get the ball, and he's used excessive force. Yep. It's not a deliberate shirt pull or a deliberate trip. It's a deliberate, I'm going to kick you up in the air, mate.
I want to hurt you.
Punish that, red card. And it stops other people doing it.
Yeah.
Agreed. So I'm in full agreement with that being a red card. I don't think the Aston Villa fans were. I also don't really care.
Really?
They would chant his name after the tackle. Like, our hero, Super John McGinn. And it stopped when the colour of the card come out. When I saw it live, I thought straight away it was a red card.
I think a lot of Villa fans, once they see the replay, would change their tune, to be fair. It's different when you're in the stadium.
Interestingly, Udogie wasn't getting booked afterwards.
Say that again?
He wasn't getting booked afterwards. Sorry, not booked, booed.
Oh.
He wasn't getting booed afterwards, Udogie. Okay. You know, like, people get picked on it. Oh, my player's been sent off, and just because you were the guy that was fouled, I'm going to boo you. Yeah. Like, they weren't booing him, actually. So, he's a miss for them, though.
Big time.
And I presume that's a free game ban.
It would be.
It's got to be.
Yeah.
Which should include missing a game at Manchester City.
So that would be
game
West
week
Ham,
31.
Wolves and Man City.
Tim Rogbenham's a really good young player. He played in midfield with Carney Chukwuemeka, also formerly of Villa, for the under-19 team that won the Euros a few years ago. He'll be fine as cover, but McGinn is an important player for them. And will be a miss. I wonder if that might put the brakes on Douglas Luiz a little bit more as well, possibly. I think if I was free hitting this week, I'd probably go Watkins, Bailey, and I think I'd probably go Bowen Kudus from that fixture, and I'd just go with defensive
for the
players.
Yep.
Yeah, I think so.
Desmond Tutu kind of game.
I think so. I think Villa will go back to a back four. I think Alex Moreno owners are possibly out of luck. Dean obviously played last Thursday in Europe, came into the team yesterday. He might be first choice now. I think Pau Torres owners like me have possibly got a bit lucky, where I think his importance for me is clear. And if they go back to a back four, as long as he's fit, he's ahead of Longley. Definitely. He was a player I obviously know really well. I think if I was to go a Villa defensive one this week on free hit, I'd go for Konsa.
Okay.
That's the safest one. It also offers a little bit of a threat from set plays. But I would think, like, even, Matty Cash. Yeah, you're dickhead as well, by the way. You could play Konsa right back, and you could go Longley, Torres. Diego Carlos is back fit. Konsa will definitely play.
Yeah.
He's the only one I'd be really confident definitely plays.
There will be Moreno owners out there. Would you advise sell?
No, you can't, can you?
Dina did get hooked early.
No,
right?
you get the 1 pointer.
Yeah.
You get the 1 pointer, so you're gonna leave it, aren't you? Rather than, you're not gonna transfer anyone out who's got the fixture this week unless they are definitively injured, I think. So if you're carrying Richarlison and Ange says on Friday, yeah, Richarlison's definitely not back, fine, sell if that's what you want to do. But I think even if you've got Issa Kabore would be another sort of example. Take your 1 point this week.
Yeah.
Whether he starts or not is probably what it will be, right? Mm-hmm. So you're not moving it on. But I don't think you'd be investing in Villa defensively. I think Bailey would be the one if people want to invest in new for Villa in terms of buying. I'm going to guess a lot of the guys have already got Watkins. If you haven't, you'll want it this week. For my team, good display.
Very good,
we spoke about this on Patreon last week, actually, about with Tottenham reflecting on the Palace game and being this halfway house between the play being too slow and also trying to trust them that they're good enough that they'll get there. There were a couple of surprises in the team lineup. I was surprised that Pap Sarr played because he's been carrying a little bit of a problem. He was great.
What a bloody ball for Madison's goal
And the
as well.
cross for the first goal. I was on that side, and I'm not going to lie to anybody. When he crossed it, I went, no. Literally what came out of my mouth was no. And then the next word that came out of my mouth was goal. Because I assumed that the world-class Emi Martinez was going to get to that cross, but stayed a little bit rooted to his spot. It was a very untypical James Maddison goal.
Yeah, it was.
It's not the sort of one you expect him to score, but delighted that he scored that sort of goal and getting into the box. We have a problem with that. Players getting into the box. It's normally only the wide players do it quite well, so it's actually a really nice goal for us to see. And there was a little bit of surprise as well with Brennan Johnson playing instead of Werner. Now, you lot will probably know I'm not his biggest fan. I've been really critical of him. I thought he was brilliant.
Yeah.
He was so good, Brennan Johnson. Yeah. And again, reflecting on conversation we had about him last week about,
for himself
something happened in that Palace game. We got in a bit of a battle with Munoz late in the game, and he looked after himself. And I don't know if it was a light bulb moment for him, you know. I thought it was great. He was so positive in everything that he was doing. And again, when he's had the one big moment for the finish, it's a good finish.
taking it.
He's the one now, I think, that would perhaps, people looking for a real differential this week. That's now on the table.
Okay.
I think.
Think he keeps his place then, yeah, even if Richarlison?
I don't see me personally picking him over Maddison, because I think the circumstance could change by game week 30. And whichever Tottenham player I get, I need it.
Yeah.
And it could be that something changes this weekend and Werner goes back in, or Richarlison's back fit and Richarlison goes in. I cannot believe at this moment, after his performance yesterday, despite the fact Werner came on and scored, I don't believe that Johnson won't play.
Sure.
I'm pretty confident he will certainly deserve to play after that performance. And I think because there's been some criticism of him, he's had a couple of good displays now, so keep him in. Keep him in for the minute. If he then needs to take him back out again in a couple of weeks, take him out. That's the real wild card one now, because I think a lot of people like me will do the obvious and go and buy Maddison.
Yep.
If I was free hitting, I'd consider Johnson. I'm not saying I'd go Johnson over Madison, but it would be way more in my train of thinking.
Okay.
I think that's probably the best three is Maddison, Johnson and Son.
Just go triple midfield,
But
yeah.
the problem is, as already summarised, if you're free hitting this week, all the defensive assets are pretty shit. So by default, I think you end up with someone like Porro.
Yeah.
Because if you don't go Porro, what you end up going Konsa instead or something. Like, it doesn't... I think most free hitters end up with Porro or even Udogie rather than triple Tottenham attack. It is still triple Tottenham attack, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
So I don't mind that. If people want to go and get Johnson, particularly on free hit, I thought it was absolutely great. It took us a while to get round the way they were playing. They obviously went very defensive with the 5-3-2, but obviously went quite man-to-man. So Tielemans and McGinn played either side of Luiz, who just couldn't get forward in this system, by the way. And I think the system will change again, it's worth saying. That was to deal with how much Tottenham want to get fullbacks into these half-space areas. They just sat behind it and were a bit flat. It took us a while to figure out. Obviously, the first goal changes the game, and then we get the press right on the second goal, and from there, it's comfy as. We were very good, and very efficient and ruthless in the second half as well. It's an absolutely super result against a good team, right? We've all lauded Villa as being really good this season. I think, as said, in hindsight, the manager will probably regret the lineup a little bit, because I think the biggest thing is they lost their advantage of playing at home. Sonny, probably captain, I think, at the weekend. It's this, isn't it? It's his capability.
Yeah, it's the ceiling.
I don't think he had a great game yesterday. But his capability in terms of his finishing, I think even on the second goal for Johnson, I think he waits too long on the pass. They get it right and he scored. I don't want to be too critical.
I only thought he was going to go Kulusevski.
It took too long, yeah. It took too long. It sounds stupid. It took too long. We scored. I still think the pass should have been released a little bit earlier, but I don't know. Maybe it left the goalkeeper not able to commit as quickly because he could have gone left or right. Yeah, it's his capability. If I said to you now, Watkins or Son was going to get a hat-trick at the weekend, who would you say was more likely?
Son.
Yeah, I think that's probably why it'll be the popular captain choice. You know the Hall capability is there. Yep. And I must stress, I do think that's a tough game for us on Saturday.
I do as well.
But I think Sonny, when I keep getting asked about and I thought Udogie was brilliant in that second half yesterday. Is Udogie now worth the saving over Porro if people are buying in that area? There's a case, yeah. There's a case. his running in between in the half spaces is a little bit more direct than Pedro, but Pedro has more armory to his returns in terms of his crossing ability. You will never see Destiny Udogie cross the ball. I've never seen it. What I mean by that is, it's probably not defined correctly, because he'll hit the byline and he'll cross it low across the box. What I'm saying is, you will never see him on the touchline and go, I'm going to whip it in like Trent or Pedro Porro. Yeah. Literally never. You've never seen him cross the ball like that. I don't know if I ever will. It's just not in his style or in his makeup to do anything with air and directness. So you very much are relying on him more to get into the positions, whereas Porro could put Sonny over the top from 50, 60 yards away, right? So, but yeah, I think there's a case to say Udogie's worth to save him. Mickey van der Ven injured. We don't know the extent at this stage. Radu Dragusin did well when he came on yesterday.
Got his wish.
But yes, he did get his wish. He got a lot of wishes yesterday. But losing Mickey is concerning.
Yeah.
You can't replicate that sheer awesome pace of recovery that he has.
Yeah.
And the game did become easy for Dragusin because of the red card and the fact we got a couple of goal lead. He'll be fine. He's cheap as, and he might be one where if Van der Ven is a long-term injury, he might even be a really cheap investment for people. He's dirt cheap for 4.2, yeah. If Van der Ven was out, say, for the rest of the season, he'll play.
Would you recommend going there instead of 0.7 more for Udogie?
Probably not, but if it's circumstantial where you're struggling for the money, I don't mind it.
Sure.
I'll tell you what I would say about him, for those who are unfamiliar, is a unit. I would bet you that... Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it could be. And with us as well, we don't have huge aerial targets on set plays. He would be, I think, like our Gabriel, if you will, at corners. He would become the target, I think.
Fair play.